Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Monday night, 8 p.m. The Online Darts Live Lounge returns in what has been a bumper day on the channel. And everyone that has been here from the minute one at 12 noon, thank you very much indeed. It has been a super day of darting. I'm not going to say action. It is in some regards, but it's just been one of those change in the hot seat tonight. We have Cam McFarlane joining myself and Dan Simpson, because Gob is not very well. Bless him. Gentlemen, good evening.
Evening.
All right. Oh. I'm not sure if it's evening. I've lost all track of what day and time. It's because I had an early start this morning, then I had half a day at work to do this. So I went into work this morning. It was chaos because I had to finish early. And then streaming for the qualifiers this afternoon. I don't know whether I'm coming or going now. I don't know what time it is. The only good thing is that I didn't fall asleep before this show, because I sat down at one point and I could have just nodded off and might not have made it back in time. But yeah, all good, mate. Very good. Good, interesting day.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I'm literally running on 3 hours sleep, a lot of coffee, and just pure adrenaline right now. But it's all good. Anthony is in the chat room as well. Smashed it with Dan today, mate. Well done. Thank you very much. The chat room is absolutely rammed. Dale is in. Owen, how we doing? Daniel, how do? Adam, Anthony, let's go. Nicholas says, what a day for the OD team. Welcome back, everyone. Absolutely. Jack, how we doing? Robbo Anno is in. Shelty, Kieran, Stuart, good to have you in. Cameron, Brian, how we doing? Bill, it's all good. And Anthony had a 90-minute nap. Fan of that. I didn't dare on the. You know when you sometimes nap on the train? I was like, do not fall asleep. Do not fall asleep.
Crew or something like that. That's
yeah. It's a risky one on the train, isn't it? Unless you're the last stop, you can't be throwing that one in there.
100%. I was like forcing myself to stay awake.
I'd have put Ted to bed. I'm like reading bedtime stories.
Just nodding off yourself in the corner.
Yeah, honestly, I was streaming for that long, then having an hour or so's break. It's not a good idea. I was on dangerous footing.
Wayne says, good evening, gentlemen and friends. Bill, Big Johnny is in. James, how we doing? And Connor is in. Look, right, let's start on a bit of a sour note, because this news that internally we may have known this was coming already, but the news dropped on Friday morning that Dom Taylor had failed a drugs test and is now suspended, meaning he would, at the time, miss the Players' Championship. And then, spoiler alert, the PDC obviously changed stuff around. He's out the World Championships as well, meaning his hearing, whatever you want to call it, will not be before Ali Pally. First failed test we've had in a while, boys, but ramifications are coming.
Yeah, you're not getting away with it, are you? It's a pretty cut and dry one, isn't it? Like, there is no sort of like.
Well, the thing, and we had it came up a little bit earlier today, so I'm conscious to not repeat myself too much. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter what your opinion is on whether or not he shouldn't have done it, or whether he's, morally transgressed in some way where he's done something that you disagree with. The bare bones are the facts are simply that he's broke a rule. And there are rules there. And when you sign up and you say, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to make my living, this is my career, you almost agree to those rules. Well, in fact, you don't almost. You agree to those rules. And at the same time, you accept that if you transgress in some way where you break those rules, therefore you are punished. You that is it. And yes, it's very, very silly. I don't think there's been any, denial of, no one's really pointed and said.
Yeah, I think with the old, like, it's not like it's performance enhancing. It's not like you can try and get away with, like, oh, you had a contaminated meat substance, like we're getting boxing every time it comes up. Like, I think this one's pretty cut and dry. Like, you've done it, hold your hands up, take your ban and come back.
I don't know, it could be contaminated doner meat.
Yeah, possibly. You never know.
Well, I think, if people want to contend these sorts of things, there's a process for it, and normally there's a statement. But I do think sometimes, if you bang to rights, you bang to rights, aren't you? And you've just got to put your hands up. And I think you know, we have this thing in sport all the time, and people say, well, are there enough people being tested? Are there enough people being caught? Are enough people being tested in the right way? You know, if somebody is being tested and they are caught, then something's working. And regardless of what you view, and you know, you could do a 2-hour show and just talk about, you know, the testing and how it should work and how it shouldn't work and how to make it fair, and do the right people do people have a way out of it by claiming to be ill, and all these different things. But the top and bottom of this situation is he got caught, he knew the rules, he appears to have broken the rules, and there'll be punishment for it. That's the way of the world, isn't it? It's how the world works.
Yeah, it's literally it, isn't it? I mean, there's not much more to it other than that, and it's just he's made a silly mistake, hasn't he, at the end of the day, and he's going to get punished for it, and then he's got to come and rebuild after it, and I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll come back from it. I don't think it'll be sort of by any means the end for him. He's obviously going the right way, absolutely, before that point as well in terms of his game, and clearly a very talented boy. And I mean, everyone makes mistakes, don't they? And it just is what it is. And unfortunately for him, I absolutely guarantee you he's not the only one doing it, but he's the only one that's been caught, unfortunately, and you've got to take the punishment.
Yeah, and Big Johnny says as well, silly boy, trending the right way. Adam says, yeah, massive year ahead now. Yeah, look, it is what it is. And look, we don't know what the substance is. We've probably all got a fair idea. But nothing was released in the statement, so it would be unfair to surmise or say what that is. But look, minimum, he's probably looking at 18 months suspension from here, I would say.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think at least it's going to be at least 12 in it. Like he's not getting away without missing a full year, which is obviously really going to hurt in terms of just in the pocket, but also his chances for going forwards. And
we've seen a player today come back from a ban, and to be fair, Adam Smith nailed very close to winning his opening game, very close, and played well.
He was right in the fight, wasn't he?
Yeah,
couldn't quite punch his way to Alexandra Palace.
Punched his way through the bracket. No, but we don't know. You know, he looked all right when he came back today, but of course he's up against it because the way his bans work, he's knackered for his tour card now, and you know he's away, and he's going to have to go and earn elsewhere. The difficulty is some of these things. You know, whilst we say it's a good time to not be a tour card holder, but it's only if people will have you come and play in their events. And if they don't want you, then it's not particularly good time to be a tour card holder, is it?
No, if you're on a ban, you're going to struggle to pick up as many sort of invites to that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, well, there's two questions in the chat room from this. One from James says, does Taylor physically lose 10.5k prize money? He never actually had it yet, but obviously, didn't play the Players' Championship, so didn't receive that first round money, and is now not going to Alexandra Palace, so won't physically receive it. So although he didn't have it, he's just not going to get it, if that makes sense.
It's not coming back. It's not being taken back off him. But
no, he never actually had it in the first place. And Lendl says, should his tour card be voided? Now, that's an interesting one, because
it depends how long the ban is, doesn't it? Because if it is going to be 18 months, 2 years, then that is a spot that could be used by someone else that's not banned.
So close to Q School as well.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. If it's a year from point of ban, which would be the Friday before the Players' Championship, technically he could probably enter the World Championship qualifier, maybe still get to Alexandra Palace and keep his card. Because he hasn't broken the criteria to take your tour card off you, because he's played in the right. He hasn't missed enough events in his first year for the PDC to take it. If it's 18 months, I'd like to think that he'd do the right thing and hand it back.
Yeah, because it doesn't look great for him anyway, the fact that he's got a ban. But if you then just hold on to a tour card, even though you know you can't play and that you're going to lose it anyway, that doesn't look great on you either. And if you can give it to someone else and give someone else an opportunity, kind of what should happen. I think, to be fair, it's very tough for him to give it up as well, but it should probably be taken out of his hands. Like, if he's got a ban for 18 months or more where he's guaranteed to lose it at the end of it, then it should just be taken out of his hands and that decision taken off him, that it is going to just be given to someone else.
Well, let me just turn my WhatsApp off. I forgot it was on my laptop.
Someone's in demand.
Yeah.
Or one of us has said something we shouldn't.
The person there is nothing to do with that. So yeah, that kind of started the Players' Championship finals on a bit of a sour note. Before we talk about the darts, oh my Christ, you boys missed a good time not to go down there because that storm battered Minehead. And
I imagine it wasn't the nicest down there for it to be honest. Oh my
God, it was horrific.
Well, hoping it's slightly nicer in February.
Every single time that I have been to Minehead, I have encountered weather, the likes of which I still say 3 years ago when the storm hit, when I was in Minehead for the Players' Championship finals 3 years ago, was that weekend I was the coldest I have ever been in my life. I have never been as cold as I was that weekend. And then when we were there, Cam, last, it just rained, didn't it? It rained and rained and rained.
Yeah, it was all right in the morning. When I got out for me run in the morning, it was actually all right. But then, yeah, the rest of the time, it was just wet, especially when I was lost trying to find my way back on that first night.
Grim. But it looked brutal this week. You know, I saw a bit on social media, people talking about the wind and how cold it was. And but it makes me no less excited to be there again in a few months. It is still a cool venue. I think everyone seems to go 50-50 on it. I know me and Cam particularly really enjoy Minehead.
I think it's brilliant. It's just good to have everyone there for the duration of it, and the fact that you all know what you're there for. You're all there for the same thing, and everyone's at every session. I just think it's great.
Yeah, and again, I felt so sorry for Ned because whoever was the ITV producer thought it would be a good idea to stand him out the front of Minehead on the last day with an umbrella and do record an opening link from the storm.
See,
they do love to do that to a presenter, don't they? Just stick them out in it.
A few years ago when she was on that harbour.
Ned gets that. He gets shafted with them quite often when he does the cycling. They end up halfway up a mountain in the Tour de France in a blizzard or something. He does
absolutely lashing it down. He's just left there on his own.
Fully in his repertoire, Ned. Yeah,
100%. Right, let's go into the darts in Minehead. And I'm not going to lie, boys. It was seed-a-geddon. It was a bloodbath early on at the Players' Championship finals. Names and seeds were tumbling all over the place in what can only be described as a massacre.
Yeah, it started from the beginning pretty much, didn't it? And just didn't relent.
No, it got silly. And then what happened? Certainly in our little WhatsApp groups that we've got, you started off where there was one or two big names went out pretty early, and then within about half an hour, we lost the two top Welsh players. No, in half an hour, we lost Price and Clayton. And then people started talking, saying like, well, imagine if MVG went as well. And people were saying, no, that couldn't happen. Right? It couldn't happen where they all go. Like, what if
Gary Anderson went?
Yeah.
And it just got almost, it was comical by the end because it just, we were just reeling off lists of the world's best players. And they all just disappeared. And we saw some rogue matches later in the tournament, which we'll probably come to. People that we maybe didn't expect to go deep. We saw, we're very familiar with everyone on the tour. But, there was a couple of players that, again, I've got friends of mine who were texting saying, who's he? Never seen him before. Who's that bloke? Who's he in the quarterfinal? And there are a few, again, breaking through into the mainstream, big TV major events. Really interesting weekend. And it's weird going into the Worlds because we often call the last few years we've come into the Worlds with a lot of the seeds. Certainly if you like the Premier League 8 and 5, 6 other players coming in and us thinking there's absolutely no chance we lose them in the first round. We don't lose them in the first round of the Worlds. The seeds are too strong. And we'll come to the Worlds later, but the Players' Championship finals are just a perfect example that virtually none of the top players are safe. Like they can all be got at, and there's too many people playing darts in the PDC that can find a level.
Yeah, Yeah, those levels are unlike anything that we've seen now. Like everyone's got it. Like they've all got it when they're on now, that they can just go up to that level. And
especially if some of these guys can, a lot of these players that I know outside of the top 30, they can come and they can average 100 regularly. They can come and they can average 100, certainly best of six. Sorry, certainly first to six.
First to six, yeah.
First to six, they can average that 100. If they nick a break off you, or if they've got the throw, then you're going to have to average very well. You're going to have to come with your A game to break them.
Oh, you're going to have to drop a 12 darter in there to get yourself in the game, at least.
It's a really high level.
Especially best of 11. They can all rattle off 11, 12, 15 or whatever and blow you away in 3 legs. So that is there. People asking about Jackie Oakley in the chat room. She was on WSL action. She is does a lot for women's football in the UK and America. So she was sadly unavailable due to WSL commitments. That's why she wasn't there. And look, I know it's in the chat room. And by the way, I'm just putting it out there. Not for 1 minute would either of these players lose deliberately. However, MVG and Anderson both losing in round 1 has done them a favour in terms of the World Championship draw, because they are now both, look, they're on a collision course, but they're not on a collision course with either Luke because of it.
No, and there's no way they could have even thought that would be the case if it happened, but it's worked out wonderfully for them.
Yeah, it has worked out nicely. There's lots and lots of moving parts with those seedings. There's so much darts being played, so many people picking up and dropping off all the time. But yeah, and it makes that it's having the Lukes ranked 1st and 4th is, I mean, let's be honest, commercially not ideal for the ideally commercially you would want those on the opposite side of the draw.
If they meet each other in a blockbuster semi-final, and then you've got Anderson or MVG in the other half or something, and then it's not the end of the world.
No, they're not going to struggle for a story, are they?
No. Oh, but by the way, we'll come back to this in a second. If Fallon Sherrock beats Ryan Meikle, that game against Luke Littler will be the most viewed game in darts history. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, it'll break the internet. The TV will stop.
That was the exact wording I used earlier. It will break the internet.
If she beats Ryan Meikle, that game will be the most viewed game in history.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. Commercially, I've got a clip to play later, Gob. Don't worry. One of the big boys has said it as well.
Here he is. Here he is again. Too poorly to be on the show, but
he's not very well, bless him. Someone asked what MVG is defending next year. MVG is defending £338,000. In the grand scheme of things, not a lot.
Well, it's not a lot if he goes and wins something, or 2 things. But how confident are you that he will? It's becoming harder
to drop him horrendously out of there, though, is it? It's not.
It's becoming harder than ever, though, to win things, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I agree, but it's in terms of he's not like Michael Smith going into these last 2 tournaments where he's defending nearly 700 grand.
No, and in no form at all.
Correct. Josh said, "Did I speak to Ando afterwards?" I did. And he was in good spirits. He was like, scored well, missed 2 darts at a double. Best of 11, it happens. Bring on the worlds. So he was in really good spirits. He was really good. But look, Connor Scutt as well. This weekend, there was a lot of pressure on this young man because he turned down Lakeside, backing himself to get into the top 64. And when you've got Martin Lukeman first, who has just got to a major final, and then we all thought he'd then play Stephen Bunting. Spanner in the works. Mario van den Bogarde beat Bunting. And then Scutt has gone on this run of Lukeman, van den Bogarde, Daryl Gurney before losing a last leg decider to Dirk in the quarterfinals. But that run has got him into the 64, meaning unless someone goes berserk at the Worlds, which I'm not being disrespectful. The players that need to, do I see them winning 3 or 4 games? No. Do I see them winning 1 game? Yes, but I don't see them then beating the seeds. Congratulations to Connor Scutt, without a tour card, breaking that 64.
Yeah, incredible effort from him. And I was gutted for him actually on Sunday because I thought he was going to nick that game as well and just couldn't find it in that last leg. But yeah, really, really good performance from him under pressure. And someone mentioned it in the chat before as well. Speaks fantastically when you hear him interviewed as well.
Yeah.
Just a really good character for the game as well. And just like I say, it's a massive achievement to go and break that 64. And I can only see him just going on and just getting better.
Yeah, I agree. He's
good year. You know, we talked about him so much when he lost that tour card and he was quite vocal. You know, he came on the show, didn't he? He spoke to us and told us about the plans that he had. He had a plan for his year, and like, really, I wonder if it's good to say it, but I wonder if he really thought that he would. You know, this is how good the year would be. I don't think we talk about Connor a lot. I don't think I can say enough positive things, but I just hope it continues because I do think he's excellent for the game. I think he speaks really well. He represents the game really well. He's a lovely watch. I just think it's great that he's done what he's done.
No, he's got serious levels when he wants to go through it as well.
Absolutely. We can't obviously go to the Players' Championship finals and not talk about the Lukes. And at one point, Luke Littler seems determined to break this 9 dart in a year record. Was it he missed it 3 times across the weekend? Went back to back countless times. However, chatting to him today, spoiler alert, he was like, "Well, it's not too bad. If I do it Ali Pally, I'll just get 60 grand."
Yeah.
But
it's worth saving it, isn't it?
He needs to stop going double 12 though. He absolutely needs to stop going double 12.
Oh, he's already said if he goes back to back again, he's going treble 17, double 15.
Yeah, 51-30. I don't know why he doesn't do that anyway. Like,
suits his game a lot better, you would think.
Yeah.
He's often so good on those 15s as well. He's clinical often on those double 15s.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and would you back against him to hit a 9 at the Worlds? Absolutely not. We'll come on to that incredible offer that Paddy are doing in a minute. But hand on heart, when we got to the semi-finals and Littler has just beaten Ross Smith 11-9 with a 104 average as another ton topper, and with the greatest of respects, Luke had a bit of a stinker against Dirk. Hands up who thought Luke Littler was going on to win his second ranking title within a week.
Nope.
Yeah, I fancied it, I'll be honest. I thought he was going to do it.
I didn't fancy Littler. I said it out loud, so I'm happy to I'm not sort of after booming, but I thought Luke Humphries had a couple of rough games in a row. He whilst he played all right in the quarterfinal, it was still for him just a 95 average, 92 average in that semi-final, and I just felt that he doesn't really do that 3 times in a row. He doesn't play on TV and throw mid-90s, low 90s, three times on the spin. Sooner or later, he's that good. He finds it and he finds a bit of a rhythm and he lifts his game a bit. I thought Humphries was due just to find that, because he'd been a bit lackluster in the quarters and the semis. I think if he'd have played better in the semis, I'd have fancied Littler going into it, as odd as that sounds.
Yeah. Hazard says, how comes Gob's not on tonight? Unfortunately, Gob has failed a welfare policy violation for having too much cowpole, so he's on the shelf tonight. No, he's
late fitness test failed.
Yeah, he's failed a fitness test, couldn't get enough cowpole inside him, and he's not very well. But the final itself, look, for these two, the first session was shite. However,
it was fucking rubbish, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
Awful.
It was awful.
Humphries hit the double, took his darts out of the balls, and stormed off stage. Then I think they must have had a few words with themselves, and by Christ, did it catch light?
Yeah, it needed to though, didn't it? Like, and they've got, they've both got it in them, and it was probably good that they could both, because they both want to put on a show. They want to have competitive games. I think they both play better when they're playing against someone where it's coming back at them. They both are able to go with an opponent, and often can, not always, because they do sometimes just turn up and turn people up because they're that good. But sometimes they've both got the tendency to get dragged into a game when their opponent's having a stinker. And I think they both just needed the other to dig in and lift it. But yeah, by hell, they didn't have to do it. And it became quite a very entertaining game.
Yeah, it is interesting. Johnny, I can tell you the reason he's on about changing. It's because of these big venues and the draft. Because he uses a small barrel in relation to most other people and a huge stem, his darts are harder, he thinks they are harder to control in windy venues than other people, which is why he's trying to find something that works. And
we can see that he's really, really struggled with them in these venues, and that's why he's the world #1 by an absolute mile.
That's why he's relentlessly winning major championships in massive venues.
Yeah, 100%. So that's why he's looking for something. But we've got a clip from Luke after winning. We'll play that and then we'll assess what he says.
Yeah, I mean, it's a statement to myself more than players or fans or anything like that. I need to send a statement to myself because I'm one of them players that needs to breed confidence all the time. If I have a couple of bad months, then it really does play on my mind sometimes. But I think the way I went into this tournament, they just weren't going for the air the way I wanted them to, and you see a lot of frustration up on the big stage. But the way I ended it, that really gritty performance against Dirk, and obviously the great performance against Luke there in the end, it's a major relief for myself. I come into this tournament, I messaged Kaylee and said, the darts don't feel right, maybe I need to change them. I think I will do, and it's after the Worlds I'm going to have a fresh change, try something new. But these darts have done me the world of good and achieved so much for them.
The first session was a little bit slow from you both, but after that we had fireworks again. What is it about you two that seem to bring the best out in each other? Because the games are always electric. Yeah,
do you know what? I feel like a lot of people expect these 110 averages from us when we play in finals, and at the start I think we just tried too hard. I think we were just trying to knock lumps out of each other, and we were trying too hard to hit them treble 20s, and as soon as we relaxed, the big finishes were coming from Luke and the big scores were coming from me, and in the end it was a really good game. But the first 6 legs it was poor from us both, but he let me in, and if I'd have done the same to him, he probably would have gone on and won. He let me in early doors and allowed me to breed that confidence, which I ran with.
I like that. I needed to send a statement to myself. Big fan of that line.
Yeah, it's a good insight into the fact that clearly, despite the fact that he has been the dominant force for the last year, that he's still a little bit vulnerable confidence-wise, even when he can do what he can do and what we've seen him do. That just even the bad tournament or two, he needs to sort of build himself back up. And I think we probably saw that throughout the weekend. Like you say, he didn't play his best until the final and until the last couple of sessions of the final. And I think it's a good sign for him now, though, that he's got that confidence back going into the biggest one of the year.
Dangerous for everybody else, though.
100%. Also, there was another final on Sunday, and it is hard not to feel sorry for Jurgen van der Velde, who missed, I think it was 5 winning darts to beat Gian van Veen. Look, Gian knows how that feels because it happened to him last year, but in that moment, you can only feel for the young man because he would have gone to the Worlds. Instead, he had to get up the road to Wigan to try and qualify for the Worlds. And those pictures on scene, that is live sport in a nutshell, that when it's great, but when it hurts, it hurts.
Yeah.
Go on, Dad.
It was a tough watch, wasn't it? Like, I genuinely, I really felt for him, and I would have been absolutely over the moon if he could have tore it up a little bit today and come and managed to fight his way through to a place at the World Championships. But sometimes it doesn't look to have done Gian van Veen any any harm happening to him last year. He's come back. He's had a superb year. He's still playing amazing darts. He's kicked on from the level that he was at last year. So, he's a very young player. Of course he is, because it was a World Youth Final. And whilst there's an awful lot of prestige attached to that. You look at some of the other players that have won that World Youth Final, and you think, look at the careers they've gone on to have. But also, there's quite a few players who haven't won that World Youth Final that have gone on to have kind of careers as well and done quite well in darts. So, he'll also come again. He'll be fighting for that World Youth again next year. Well, granted, there might be some more people in the mix and a few others come along by then, but that wasn't his last run at it. So he will go again. He's only young.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? In the moment, it'll feel like the worst thing in the world for him. Like, he's missed out on a shot at being able to go to the World for the first time. But he is young. He will get a million other opportunities for it. He's got plenty of chances to come again, and he's clearly good enough to do it as well, to get himself into that position against someone who's in fantastic form at the moment and playing some of the best darts that we've seen from him.
Yeah, 100%.
There is a question a couple of people asking it in the chat, that should Jan be playing in it, really, as a top 32 player? And someone says he shouldn't be in it because he's 22. Now, this is just the Littler effect completely, that we now think if you're 22, you are over the hill and you're nowhere near a youth player, which is a bit ridiculous in darts. But when he is in the position he is in, already qualified for the Worlds, he's, like I say, he's inside the top 32. I kind of feel like you shouldn't be dropping back into the youths at that point.
Yeah, all I will say is a lot of people obviously might not know the development tour and the World Youth have different rules. The Jan can't play in the development tour because he's in obviously the top 32 in the world, but the rules are different for the World Youth Championship. Is the thing. If Littler would have wanted to, he could have played. Yeah. He opted not to. The same as Josh Rock. So the rules are different to the Dev Tour for the World Youth. And look, should he? That's a question for the powers that be. He's one that is just playing within those rules. From
his point of view, absolutely go in and play in it and go and try and win it.
Do I think they should be?
Rules,
no, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think the rules are right. I don't think it's quite right. But fair play to him to.
But you also think, you look at the players that were on the back end of that tournament, and how many of them are actually going to Ali Pali. Dylan Slevin was in there, Vessel Nyman was in there, Keane Barry was in there. The World Youth is filled with what we would consider world-class darts players. This isn't the school football team. I mean, it's far from it. It is in and of itself an elite tournament. Even those in there that aren't carrying a tour card are at an elite level. And when we see them compete elsewhere, whether it's WDF, whether it's Super Series, they generally go into a lot of those games as favourites when with some of those other players. Even, from the sort of third round quarterfinals on, the level is very, very high.
Yeah, we've got a clip to play. I'll play it in a second, but before we do that, sorry, Rob asked, is the wind the reason the fans are so far away in Minehead compared to other venues? No, look, Minehead's windy because there are doors everywhere, as you boys know. To get into that main dome, there's about 4 different sets of doors. And
it's it's not airtight, I'm convinced, anyway.
No, I don't think it is.
If you close all the doors, it's not designed to be airtight.
I think it's as much as anything, it's just the shape of the venue is why it is how it is and why people are so far sort of back away. And we obviously sat there last year in that stand at the back, and you do feel a hell of a long way away from it.
Yeah. Butlins is not designed for precision.
No.
In any way, in any context. Anything.
That's why we designed for beach balls on a Sunday, but that's a whole nother thing. Right. Jan, he gave a real classy interview afterwards. This is a little clip.
Jurgen played a fantastic game. I think we all know he deserved to win this game, but he missed his chances and I took mine. So yeah, I'm just happy to get this win.
You touched on it there. You know how he feels from last year. I'm guessing it's not a nice feeling.
No, but I think he even feels more heartbroken today than I was last year. You know, last year I knew I was qualified for the World Championship. It was only my first year as a tour card holder. So, but you know, for him, he still has to qualify for the World Championship. So he needs to go to Wigan tomorrow for the World Championship qualifiers. And if he would have hit one of those match darts, he wouldn't have got to go to Wigan. And maybe there was a chance, you know, he could save his tour card. So. Yeah, I'm heartbroken for him, but you know, it's a cruel sport, and you only got to think about yourself. But yeah, I'm happy with this win, but you know, as I said, mixed feelings.
Real classy interview from Jan van Veen.
Yeah, basically just said, like, he's gutted for him, but I had to go and win it.
Yeah. Also, we've got a couple of other little clips to play off the back of it. First one, an interesting one from Barney, and interesting that is he playing a few mind games?
I'm fine, but it really shocks me. Normally, you don't lose these matches against Ian White or Ryan Joyce, you know, for well, to be honest, he doesn't. And yeah, losing here in the first round must be hard for him to do well in the Worlds, yeah.
Must be hard for him to do well at the Worlds.
I don't think he's playing mind games. I just think he's acting the dick. And there's a difference, you know, there's mind games, and sometimes it's just being a bit of a cock in there.
Yeah, just hopping about a little bit.
I mean, I think he's hoying the fishing right now, isn't he? I think he's stirring the pot, and sometimes what we find, and you know, let's be honest, Barney. This is not his first rodeo. If anything, it's probably had one too many. But
So you're being generous with one, to be honest.
Yeah, but often, and we see other players do it, and Barney's done a very good job of it there. There are some players where when it gets to this time of year and they are unlucky enough to be pinned down by Phil Bars to have to talk about darts, what Phil wants from them, as we all know, is to talk about them. And how they are and where they're and they don't want to give the soundbite. They don't know. Barney doesn't want to tell you what he's going to go and do at the Worlds. He doesn't want. So there's some of them are very skillful and very artfully will distract. You know, Gary Anderson is the master of talking about other people when he gets asked a question about himself. And I think Barney's given a bit of that there. And it would be nice to see. It'd be nice to hear Michael's reaction to that.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to hear his initial reaction away from cameras. That'd be a good one. And then actually what he says in front of a camera would be decent as well.
Oh, I've heard the off-camera one. The off-camera one's hilarious.
Yeah, I thought it might be.
I assume it needs the bleep button.
It's not airable because it'd just be like Morse code.
Yeah.
Right, we've got one from Nathan Aspel. I know Gob's watching, and he's not going to like a bit of this.
No, normally it is. I did an interview the other day, and I say like my form at the Players Championship is absolutely pathetic. And they said, why is that? And I think it is because I always so focused on the World Championships, but this year it's different. My ranking, my vulnerability in the ranking, my position for like Premier Leagues and World Series is very under scrutiny. So I've got to put a good performance on this weekend. So I'm not even thinking of the Worlds. I'm thinking of this weekend, and I want to go on and win it. And you know, I believe that I'm in the right mind frame and ability with my darts at the moment that I can go and win it this weekend.
Well, on the Premier League, not just you, there are a lot of established Premier League players and names that are under jeopardy for this year because of people's rankings and form. Is that something that's being spoken about amongst you guys that expect to be in and are normally in?
I don't think, even deadly honestly, I don't think anyone expects to be in. I think if I look at, you know, you interviewing me, if I look for my own personal opinion, there's so many people that have earned it more than me. But again, I said it in an interview the other day, the Premier League is a commercial entity. It's what brings all the money in and all that stuff. And, you know, if you throw someone in that no one don't even really know,
how is that going to do? Obviously, they're going to sell tickets, but is that what people want to see, or do they want to see your jerseys and stuff like that? You know, I'm not going to make that decision. I know my opinion on that. But listen, first and foremost, I'm here to play darts and win this tournament. Premier League's next year. This is now the Players' Championship. All I've got to do is keep winning, and everything else takes care of itself, doesn't it?
You right there, Dan?
I mean, where do you start? I mean, I get it. Like, I'm always the first to say, right? And the Premier League, you could retitle it the Sky Sports Exhibition Tour. Like, let's be brutal. That's what it is. But I think that realistically, he's not going to be in the top 10 when the Premier League is picked. Unless he goes and does something in the Worlds that would probably justify a pick regardless. You know, if he goes wild in the Worlds, knocks out another big name, then he's probably put himself within a shout as anybody else would. But
what you mean is when, Dan, when he does, not if.
But I honestly,
you're not having any Nathan Aspinall slander on here.
He's had a
not with me on.
I think he's great. He's a brilliant dart player. I love to watch him, but he's been bobbins for ages. And to think that, I mean, first of all, it's worth noting that he's fucking sold out already. Like, so the commercialness is gone. Like, you only need to worry about commercials until you've sold all your tickets and your sponsorship. Once you've sold your tickets and your sponsorship, don't matter.
You still need people watching.
You still need viewing figures, and that's what he says. It's like, how does that affect this? A commercial entity. How does that affect viewing figures effectively?
I don't think.
Another thing, which we're seeing more and more, is things like merchandise. We are seeing more and more people turn up to darts in player shirts, and this has to be factored in. Have you seen any Ryan Joyce shirts in the crowd?
Dan Simpson,
in the northeast of England.
the only man that owns one, other than Ryan Joyce.
Every second bloke's got a Ryan Joyce shirt on the pitch. You got the queue at the chippy, and they're all every second person in the queue's got a Ryan Joyce. The ones that haven't got Dobie ones on. No, I get. No, I understand it, but also, what we all are also, and let's be honest, because we know we've seen this for quite a few years with Nathan Aspinall, because Nathan Aspinall is the product of multiple years of developing a commercial identity and a product that includes a walk-on and a range of merchandise and darts and T-shirts and all the other things that go with it. That is the package that is Nathan Aspinall. But there are players that could be developed into something similar. You know, Sky could insist that Mike De Decker walks out to Mr. Brightside in the Premier League, so we still get it. If the people who pay the money ask for it, it happens, doesn't it?
Here he is. I knew he'd like this one on his sick bed.
I disagree with him, and it's not just because it's Nathan Aspinall.
And Gob.
And Gob, yeah. Basically, if I'm going to take his spot, I've got to be controversial at some point, at least. If you're a player and you want to get in there and you want the riches that come along with it, then you absolutely should be talking about commercial viability and how much you're going to bring to it. Because you want that spot. You want to get in there. And we know that's how you get in there. You don't get in there unless you go and win a big one, you don't get in there on anything else other than people wanting to watch you and putting people in front of a television. So absolutely talk about it and tell people how many people want to watch you.
I like it. I deliberately clipped that one up. We haven't spoke to Kim Huybrechts for a while, and I deliberately spoke to him for this one reason, and we'll discuss in a sec.
No, not really. I've had peace with that Mike took over my spot. He's playing amazing. He's been far the better player for the last 2-3 years, so it doesn't really bother me. I had my beautiful moments, especially with Ronnie. The last couple of years, it's been less attractive for me, the World Cup, because of personal issues. So I don't mind not playing the World Cup. I'm not bothered about it. I always want to represent my country, but the way that it's been in the last couple of years, it wasn't so much fun. There was a lot of negativity around it, so I could miss that for a year.
I get that, and that's obviously the first time you've spoken openly about that.
Yeah.
Did that affect Team Belgium's performance? I know you two put a brave face on it when you were there, but did it? Was it?
No, I think since the troubles started, I think we had a quarterfinal, a semi-final, so it didn't affect us. It didn't affect the games, but it affects the way you view on the tournament. That was the one that I put in red. That was the one that I said World Cup. And the last 3-4 years, it was like, if I make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't.
Troubles.
I like that. I've made peace.
Yeah.
Interesting though. Interesting.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to speak to him, because we haven't had a chance to speak to him since that Mike De Decker overtook him and so on. But it was a good insight.
And I might be wrong, Phil. You might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously there's definitely been some division between the Belgian players. But I think that where that division was, Mike De Decker was probably more on the Kim Huybrechts side of that dividing line than.
No, he was Team Dimitri.
Was he really? All right.
Yeah.
So fair enough, that's all right. I didn't pay that much attention.
It's his mother more than anything, wasn't it?
Oh God!
I remember.
Christ.
Yeah, he was Team Dimmy.
Yeah.
He was part of the thinly veiled threat that it was.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
It'd be unfortunate if something happened to them, was it?
Yeah, I remembered that unfortunate threat, but I couldn't remember which side it had been aimed at. Yeah, well, we probably get a harmonious team back, and the problem is as well is because of where they both are and where Kim is, and Kane being brutal but honest, because of what we expect to see from Kim in the next 12, 18 months, it would be unlikely if he were to dethrone either of those spots in the next, ever. Can he get back to the heights that we expect? Let's suppose we don't expect these two to drop out of the top 20 in the next few years, do we? I think...
No, that's the thing, I think, isn't it? Like, there are signs that he's starting to play better again. But those two are on another level now.
That's it. He might play better again, but is he going to sustain 3-4 years in the top 20, which is what we expect, or what I expect the other two to do?
Yeah, I don't see either of them two going anywhere, to be honest. So I think he's going to struggle, realistically, unless something unfortunate happens to one of them.
From Minehead, we went steaming up the M5 and M6 to Wigan for last chance saloon for the World Championship. There were 4 places on offer. Dan, you were on the stream with Anthony today. What was that moment like when the curtain came down on the great Steve Beaton's professional career?
We had a minute's silence. It was devastating. It was
rightfully so. Followed by, I assume, about 15 minutes of abusing Darren Beveridge.
Yeah, we had a minute's silence followed by 15 minutes violent swearing. It was desperately sad. I think there was a few things to do. For the old romantics among us, there was a few things that we wanted. I like, as everyone knows, to manifest chaos. So, what I wanted a Steve, I'll be brutally honest, I wanted Adam Smith-Neil to beat Steve Beaton in the final, because I thought that is the most chaotic thing that can happen in this whole, if Adam Smith-Neil comes back and gets through into the World Championships, knocking Steve Beaton off at the final post, but it wasn't quite as chaotic as I had hoped. But no, it was. I think, let's be honest. Steve Beaton he's not gone out in the way that we've seen other players gone out, and he's not clawing and scratching and fighting for every pound to try and cling on to his tour card. Steve Beaton has held on to his tour card. He's successfully, earned the right to play on the tour next year. But he's took the decision to retire that. And again, like I've said it quite a lot about Adrian Lewis, I've said it about Duzza. Like, these players have earned the right to do whatever they want. Steve Beaton has given enough to darts and darts fans over the years that he owes nobody anything, and whatever makes him happy, that's what I think everybody should be wishing for him to do. And if that's going and playing some seniors and some other bits and pieces and some exhibitions and putting his feet up and enjoying his villa, then good on him. But it would have been nice to see one last hurrah. But we also, Simon Whitlock bowed out today at the exact same stage, which sits him in number 65. Now, that 65th spot, of course, Phil's shaking his head because
65 will be enough. However, Wesley Plaisir will win his first game in the World Championships. I think Simon Whitlock is cooked.
This is it, because what we cannot confirm Simon Whitlock yet, but Simon Whitlock is and he's going to be hanging by that thread for quite some time. What we don't know, obviously, we go back over to Dom Taylor a little bit, but we don't know if that card is either surrendered or confiscated, as to whether or not that would become another card available through the Q School system, or whether that would be that we would move that one position down in the tour card race. So nobody's come out and give us any confirmation on that yet. But another one, and I wore his shirt all the way through the stream today. Formerly an autographed shirt until Mrs. S did the washing. Now it's just a shirt. From Mervyn King, who
I told you to send it me, that one, because he did our end of season.
Yeah, get it signed again.
Our end of season awards evening in our darts league. I could have got him to sign it again.
It'd only go back.
And then it could have been signed again for another month, and then she'd washed it off again.
But Mervyn King made it all the way today to that last game, and not only made it all the way to that last game, but made it all the way to the last game and a deciding leg, where he was just edged out by Matt Campbell, who Matt Campbell thoroughly deserved that. He played superb all day, and I don't know anyone that didn't want Matt Campble to get to the Ali Pali.
Mervyn King, I imagine.
Apart from Mervyn King,
all the Merverts.
Yeah. Only for about 15 minutes. The rest of the time, I think everyone was happy to see the Ginger Ninja get there. But yeah, so there was a few today, looking at some of those older players that now will find themselves without a card. But we also saw some real positives today. Michele Torretta played some superb darts. We saw a 9-darter from Lucas Venig. That's a bit special to watch. The thing of special ones, we saw shite, for want of a better word, from Jose de Souza. That is a man who, 3 years ago we're watching him in Premier League finals and winning majors, and he is so far away. I looked this afternoon back over his record for trying to get an impression of how bad things have got, until I realised he didn't have one, because he's not qualified for anything for the last 12 months. There's nothing to pick apart. So yeah, he went out in his first game today to eventual winner Rhys Griffin. Really interesting. We saw some brilliant performances. Adam Hunt again had a really great run, and I don't know what happened in the final, but was a country mile away from everything he's thrown throughout the day. Great day though, really decent stream and some good performances from players. But yeah, a few that we maybe expected a bit more from. Mario van den Bahara had a really good weekend down in Minehead. I thought he'd carry a bit more of that form through. Mike Kyvenhoven, we've seen really positive things from. Owen Bates as well, that underwhelmed a little bit. There was a few players that didn't play the way we know they could today.
Well, just looking, Jose de Souza next year is defending £113,000. This year he's earned 25. Romeo Dunn. He's defending 65% of his already sliding ranking, and he can't win an argument, let alone a game at the moment.
No, he's a mile away.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
Anthony, right? I'll add it to my list for the tour next year. We need fireworks for a 9-darter. I'm on it. We've added the Ando alarm as well, so we'll get fireworks for 9s as well.
We'll get to that at some point, Shelty.
Also, obviously, with that World Championship qualifier today, Dylan Slevin has effectively kept his card from nowhere as well.
Yeah, and again, he was in that World Youth tournament over the weekend. He played really well. I think he made a semi-final of the World Youth.
I think so, yeah.
He's in good form, but his tour card did look gone, for want of a better word, and has managed to fight his way through to now looking relatively comfortable there. He's he's going to keep the card. He's not going to get unseated from there, and if he wins a game or two, I can't remember off the top of my head his exact draw, but I remember seeing his draw and thinking that there were winnable games there for him. That he had matches that he could win, and if he can put a couple of them together, then he puts himself in a good position for next year when that tour card is the pressure is on again. So if he can start to bank some money early in the year, that's I think really what he needs.
Yeah. Where did I get an airing today?
You did get. I used the clip. I think somebody mentioned you. I think Anthony was looking for. We were talking about you for some reason. Won't have been controversial.
Of course not.
I found that in the back end so that Miss Headman could just join us for a moment on and assume it. I've never heard it put better, so we slid in.
Fair enough.
You've got to use it every time possible, really, haven't we?
Yeah. Damon Heta gyrating behind Mervyn King is an image that I cannot get out of my head, and I wish I'd never saw.
And I'd have been quite happy if no one had mentioned it and that I didn't have to think about it.
It's something that cannot be eradicated. Not even realistically can eradicate this.
Am I right? Because I didn't see it live. Am I right in thinking we've had some way of an apology?
Possibly. I don't know. I'm not going to lie.
I imagine you have
in Minehead, so I haven't seen it. If
I haven't, I've been vocal quite a few times before on what I think of walk-on antics. I think some of them are brilliant. Some of them add an awful lot. Do I think that adds anything? I'm not sure that it adds entertainment for the crowd in the right way. I don't think it's particularly respectful.
No, I agree. Evening, Matador. Union Tavern Darts team, how are we doing? Says, what results in the world will decide if Whitlock keeps his card or not? Right. The biggest danger right now for Simon Whitlock is Wesley Placia. If he wins his opening round game, Whitlock is goosed. If he loses, attention turns to Jeffrey Dejuan. He would then need to win 2 games. If he fails, then Nick Kenny would have to win 2 games. Robert Owen would have to win 2 games. Thibaut Tricol 4. So Placia is his biggest danger right now. If he wins his game, Whitlock is goosed. So that's what it is for Simon Whitlock. It's kind of gone under the radar a little bit because we're talking about beaten, but losing Whitlock from the tour is something that's gone under the radar in terms of also what he's given to the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I fully agree. He's been a massive, massive character in the sport for a long, long time, and seen him in big games for years and years and years. And people of our sort of age, he's always sort of been there as we've been watching darts, and it's an iconic walk-on that everyone remembers. That I remember being sat in whatever it's called now, the M&S Bank Arena, is it, at Liverpool? It used to be the Echo.
It'll always be the Echo.
Yeah, exactly. Same as the MEN in Manchester. But yeah, being sat in the Echo and being sat there on a table with 4 Australians who'd booked it when they were pissed just to come and watch Whitlock, and watching his walk on at that time, and it was just a special moment, and something I'll always remember from my early sort of days of going to big darts events and Premier League arenas. And yeah, it was it will be a big loss if he does miss out. I think he will miss out as well. I think Wesley just playing too well this year to not get through. I actually think we'll probably come on to this, but I think Peter Wright's in danger playing him, to be honest.
Or as a ITV commentator said at the weekend when he forgot Wesley Placier's name, just went, "Go on, big man."
Yes, I think I said that to him a few times in Minehead last year when I was having a beer with him.
Yeah, but it's different when a pundit or commentator forgets his name. You could hear the panic in his voice. Go on, big man.
Yeah, it's just do the best you can at that point, isn't it? He's
a big lad as well, isn't he?
He is a big man. Having had a picture with him, it was difficult to get us both in the same shot because I'm not the tallest, as we all know.
Yeah, it was very much a contrast to see you and Wesley stood next to each other. But it was a little bit chuckle-worthy. And crikey, yeah, we had some. There was a few commentators struggled with names over the weekend, wasn't there?
Yeah, I liked. I'm still trying to work out how Darren Gurney qualified for the tournament. I couldn't find him on my list.
Yeah, Darren Gurney, Jake Humphries, he had a good run as well, didn't he?
At one point, I honestly thought it was some sort of pro-am between rounds that I'd missed out on. Between the semi-final and the final, we're gonna have some sort of pro-am event. Let a few other telepresenters on.
Bob says Romeo Gervenbach qualified. Yes, he did. Looking good. Yeah, Bob, we spoke about Dom Taylor failing his drugs test, and look, he's only currently suspended pending a hearing and investigation. Look, when it's cut and dried like that, I'm sure we will get the confirmation sooner rather than later. But also, starting this week, gents, we do have the WDF World Championships to look forward to at Lakeside. The men, the women's, the boys, and the girls. Some notable names in the tournament, and also some players that I don't know an awful lot about either. Look, the women's, I think we're all in agreement that Bo's arm has to fall off for her not to win this.
Yeah, I think we can move on pretty rapidly from that. I don't think any of us are going to come up with any alternative argument for who wins that tournament.
No, I agree. I do think that elsewhere in the draw, there are some in the women's draw. I think there are some watchable games. I do think I think that elsewhere in that draw, I think there are some games that I would happily look forward to watching. That there's some great talent in there and very watchable darts. But I don't think that Bo Greaves will get. I just don't think she'll get done. I think she'll just play her way through the bracket and beat whatever's in front of her. But I do think there's some watchable games through the rest of the bracket as well.
There's a couple of sections in the women that, let's be honest, are not great. I don't see a way that Rhiannon O'Sullivan doesn't get to the semi-final, the section she's in, for instance.
Agree.
Yeah, I agree with you though. I think, I can't see any.
Yeah, I just can't see how Rhiannon doesn't get to the semi-final.
I think but above that, I think with Lisa and Lorraine and Aileen in there, I think there's more to more to in that section. That next quarter up, I think is a nicer, is a much nicer look. I think that's a decent quarter that to watch.
Yeah. I completely agree. The men's event is intriguing because there are some very good players in there. There's some players that a banging form right now as well. And I want to throw, well, first of all, for nostalgia, surely we all want Paul Lim to win Lakeside, correct?
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone else, but nostalgia reasons, Paul Lim has to win Lakeside.
If anyone in the chat or anyone listening to this doesn't want Paul Lim to win it, you're not a darts fan.
Yeah, it's. I mean, and there's names in that side of the draw as well. You know, we are going to potentially see some matchups of famous dart players. You know, and I know there's a few in this tournament that maybe not everybody will have heard of or know the background of. But that section of the draw is you know, we've seen a lot of those guys on TV in recent years. It's a really interesting section of the draw. That.
Yeah, definitely. It is, like you say, you've got obviously just in and around that section, you've got obviously like Matthew Edgar in there, you've got Kai Fan Lung, Neil Duff, all around in that same sort of area of the draw. People that we've seen, like I say, seen a lot of, and obviously Paul Lim himself as well.
We've seen good things from other players as well. You know, we've seen good things from Patrick Kovacs. We've seen good things from Dennis Nielsen as well. There is some real talent in that part of the draw. I'm not sure there's as much depth in the top half. I don't think there's as much depth in the top half. I don't think the top is as exciting some of those draws. But you know, any one of them can produce, and when two of them go at it together, we could get some really interesting games there.
Well, no, look, Jimmy Van Skeet is obviously a name on everyone's lips. One, we've seen him pick up I think it's 8 WDF titles this year, but we've seen him win at the Super Series or win big games at the Super Series as well. He came so close to qualifying for Ali Pali that Van Skeet will probably go off favourite, I would say.
Yeah, you would imagine that's where the bookies would be. I can't see any odds, but I would be really surprised.
So I'm just looking. No one's got it priced up yet, which is annoying. Because last year it was good punting.
Hang on, I think we might have it.
Now. Yeah, so
I've got it here. Yeah, Jimmy Van Skeet is
the 5-1 favourite.
Yeah.
Oh, Paddy have got it.
Paddy have got it. Good old Patrick Power.
Paddy Power. Jimmy Van Skeet 5-1. Gary Stone 11-2. Neil Duff 13-2.
Paul Lim 125s. That's all you need.
I really like Neil Duff at 13-2 as well.
Yeah,
he's played some good stuff recently.
Neil Duff's great value at that price.
I don't hate the value on Kai Fan Lung at 66s, to be honest. I
don't mind the value on Brian Roman at 25-1. Like Brian has a good enough game to beat anybody else in that tournament in one match. Like Brian can beat anyone in that tournament. And he's a better dart player than 2/3 of them, in my opinion. I think he's a better dart player than 2/3 of those players, and he can beat any of them. So 25-1 with Paddy, I think, is a pretty good price for Brian Roman.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
No, I agree. I think there's one. I'm interested to see the number 1 seed in Danny Porter. Look, I don't know Danny. I haven't seen a lot of him. Do I think he is the best player in there, which is what the number 1 seed would suggest? No, I don't. I think he has manipulated the system very well and picked up ranking points in areas that others haven't. I look at some of the other names that we see in the World Series events from the PDC that play more on the DPA tour, and I look at numbers and I think that there's a reason he's perhaps skipped those events to try and concentrate on these. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't know why you wouldn't. You know, if it seems what you would do, given that, you know, if that
if the opportunity is open, it's absolutely what you'd go and do. I think
there's one game. Carl Wilkinson is playing very well right now. but he has a stinker of a draw against the truth, Jacob Taylor, the winner to play Benjamin Pratnam. Look, the winner of that Wilkinson-Taylor game, I think, can go on and do a lot of damage.
Yeah, you're right, but I think there's a lot of that in there. I do think there's loads of potential in there for people to just put 4 or 5 games together. I think there's a lot of them with that ability. I think it could be a bit of a lottery. Well, I think it is.
I've just, Matador, you've made me go and have a look. They've had a stinker with some of these odds on the individual games.
I've not looked at individual matches. Hang on.
Brian Roman is a 6-5 outsider.
Yeah.
Are you joking? Oh, God, no.
Yeah, that's lovely value.
I'm not sure. Like, it seems a bit of an insult as well to make Kai Smith a 500-1 outsider for the title. Like,
forget the title, and don't get me wrong. I a lot of time for Mike Gillett. Got to know him very well, but Kai Smith is 4-1 to beat Mike Gillett.
He's 500-1 to win the title. It's mad.
Yeah, there's been some lazy trading here. Look, I love Paul Lim to bits. However, from a betting point of view, how would you price up Moreno Blom against Paul Lim?
Well,
I wouldn't be pricing it 10 to 11 apiece.
I was going to say I wouldn't have them both going up at 5 to 6. Put it that way.
No, certainly not.
Oh, wow.
Someone has had an absolute shocker.
Yeah, let's not call them out too much on it because then they'll realise. We don't want them to realise before we get a chance to get our bets on.
And stop sponsoring the show.
Interesting. Lendl, who else is your outsider then? Wow, that's...
While we wait for that, Dan Simpson, you're 2-0 down now, just so you know.
Mate. I've got it here. I can see it.
Yeah, so, I could tell from your face that you already do, but I just thought I'd point it out.
It's been a tough. Like, I haven't paid attention. I've seen some key moments on replays. You know what it looks like, and I might be wrong, but it looks like we've completely dominated the match. They've had 2 chances and poked them away.
Yeah,
slack. Like,
I mean, I haven't particularly been concentrating on it either, but it's I've seen you have a couple of. Basically, you've been in their half most of the time.
50-50 to beat them. Wow.
I disagree with that, Lendl. I think Blum's a huge favourite. Just the level.
Maybe Lendl's on the pricing.
Lendl on the pricing, yeah. Yeah, we know what their source is. We know who their source is.
But if you had to pick a winner of the men's event, who would you be plumping for right now? Your favourite and an outsider?
Well, I feel like at 25-1, I'll claim Brian Roman as my outsider. I think he's outside enough at 25 to be that outsider. And Duff man, Neil Duff.
I'm taking the overall favourite as my favourite. I think 5-1's too long.
Boring.
But I think I think he should be priced up similar to the favourites in the PDC World Championship, where you're looking at like 2-1, 13-8 sort of prices. 5-1's far too long, so I'm having that all day long. And I'm gonna sort of hedge my bets a little bit because I've already said it. I think Kai Van Lung at 66-1. If he somehow comes through that quarter instead of Jimmy, then
don't forget he's seeded 7th, Kai Van Lung, as well.
I know he's 66-1, and like I say, if he gets through that game in that quarter, I think hedge your bets a little bit. I've two in the same section. I don't mind that at all. I'll have him as my backup at 66s.
I agree. I think Shane McGurk will go well in there. I think that there's a couple that we've seen on the CDC tour as well that have perhaps been a little bit overlooked in Jess Springer and Jason Brandon. I think that they've shown enough of a level that they'll be competitive. But I'm going for Neil Duff as my... I think Neil Duff wins it. And my outsider, I have a Carl Wilkinson.
You can get a very good price there, I think.
I think we've seen the Yorkshire skipper producing at the moment.
150 to 1 for your outsider there. Not only that, you can get 7 to 4 on him just getting through his first game, which is nice.
Don't get me wrong; it's a tough one. That's why that Jacob Taylor is a cracking player. How far do we reckon Edgar gets? That all depends on the injury. If he can maintain an injury, I'm not going to say free tournament because it's never going to be free, but if he can manage the injury, I think he can go well. But there's too many questions about the injury at the moment.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be putting any of my hard-earned on him even getting through the first game, just because we just don't know how well he can.
I don't think he's got an easy game. I think he's going to be.
Oh, no, Bottenberg's a tough game.
You know, I think Bottenberg is a tough game. You know, if he gets through that, Ryan Hogarth it will be a difficult prospect. And then if he gets through that, he's likely to bump into Jimmy Van Schie.
It's in a very tough section,
and that's just to get through the third round. Like, I think he has been. You know, he's been dealt a bit of a shit hand in terms of the draw, Edgar, and he's going to have to beat the best there to really even go on a bit of a run.
The boys' draw, do we think Jensen Walker comes through that, or are we looking at Archie Self perhaps? They're the two that leap off straight away.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the final. If I'm honest, you know, I think Jensen and Archie is the final. If that is the final, probably Archie. You know,
he's playing well, Archie Self.
If I had to, you know, if you force me to pick one or the other, I think that's the final, and I think it's probably Archie in that.
Yeah, I think that's the final as well. Slightly leaning the other way, but there's not much in it. It's a toss of a coin, that final.
Yeah, it could be tight.
And in the women's one, are we? Oh, sorry, the girls one. Are we all going Paige Pauling? The fact that she's won senior titles as well this year.
Too good.
I think she's just a level above. Yeah,
a really special or potentially special talent, Paige. And yeah, just too good, I think, for anybody else that's in that bracket.
Connor Scutt is in the chat room. How are we doing, buddy? Hope you got home safe.
Connor.
It was great chatting with you at the weekend, my friend. It was good to see you. So someone asked, are we covering Ali Pally Lakeside? Between myself and Gob, we are going to try to get to Lakeside as many days as we physically can. Look, I'm not going to lie, my schedule coming up is ridiculous, but between us, we will try and cover as much as we can for you. For personally, Lakeside falls at the worst time of year possible because it's right in the build-up for Ali Pally. But we will try and get there as much as we can for you all to get some stuff. Definitely there for the final, and then the other ones we will try and get you sorted. But with the World Championships on the horizon, it's a little busy, boys, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got a little bit on, haven't we? I mean, it's about time you did some work, to be fair, because you've barely done anything this year.
Yes.
His car's just sat there, hasn't it, seizing up. He wants to put some mileage on that car of yours, Phil.
To be fair, if she gets through the next 2 weeks, I will be over the moon.
Poor old girl's on her. She's limping.
On her last legs this year.
To be fair, look, shows me nothing. She's been battered.
That motorway.
Mainly just having to put up with your absolute sliders and shorts every day.
Yeah.
That's enough for the old girl.
I've seen how he packs that poor car, and it's not fair. Like the amount of stuff he's got crammed in boots and back seats and glove compartments and strapped to the roof, and Phil Bowers does not travel light.
To be fair, I'm up your neck of the woods next week, Dan.
Is it where are you? Were you in Scarborough?
I'm in Newcastle and Scarbs.
Oh, I might see you at some point. I might see you.
Exhibition content coming your way. So yeah, I'm up your neck of the woods. Look, we're not going to go massively into the PDC World Championship draw because we're going to kind of saving that for next week and the Live Lounge live. But just your initial reaction to the draw, boys. There are some standout games in there, and there are also some seeds that will be quite happy.
Yeah, there are. Immediately, just looking at it, let's mention it because we're going to have to mention it at some point. The fact that it could be Fallon against Littler is like he's going to break the internet if it happens. She's got a tough tie, to be fair. We know obviously Ryan's playing well. He beat Gary at the weekend, but yeah, there's some crackers in that first round. Like Cammy against Leonard Gates is a great game. Mensa Sulic, Matt Campbell's not bad either. Kim Huybrechts, Keane Barry is another one that jumps off the page straight away when you're looking at it. And there was one more that I'd picked out and forgotten what it was. Oh, Willie O'Connor against Dylan Slevin as well. It's a cracking little battle of the Irish.
Little groups as well. You know, William O'Connor and Dylan Slevin, winner plays Dimitri van den Bergh. Like that's a really interesting little group of players together.
Yeah.
And there's somewhere you think like there's an awful lot of talent in within those little groups of three, and it's difficult to really work out who's going to come through that one. But then there's others as well where you think
Connor against Ben Rob's an unbelievable game as well for the first round.
Yeah, there's others where you look at the seeds and the seeds might be breathing a sigh of relief, but then there's others that could be got at. Gabriel Clemens in there with Niels Zonneveld and Robert Owen. We've seen Niels and Robert play well recently. Gabriel Clemens isn't the same player that made the semi-finals of this tournament, or certainly at the moment anyway. He's going to need to find something. That little section there that's got Joe Cullen, Wessel Nyman, Keane Barry, Kim Huybrechts, Gerwin Price, Johnny Clayton, Darryl Gurney, that section of the draw is well, I think it's either a complete lottery or it could be the absolute birth of Wessel Nyman at Ali Pali, and he could just tear them all up because there's a lot of very big name players in that little section that are in no form whatsoever, and Nyman could just bash them out.
There is, but also if Gerwin Price is anywhere near at it, he pisses through that section, flies through it. No one lays a glove on him. Like that, I genuinely think that if he's anywhere near at it, that's a section for him to just rattle through, and all of a sudden, we're all talking about whether he's back.
I'm very happy with Dobie's section. Not maybe the full quarter, but that section, that he's found himself in. I think that
I think he's got a third round tie with Josh Rock. That's what look, Michael Smith will be happy with his section. Considering he's not in form, that could have been a lot worse.
It could have been an awful lot worse than that.
So that. Also, Martin Lukeman has got, I think, a nice little section. He plays Nitin Kumar, and then his seed is Andrew Gilding.
Yeah, he'll fancy that. He'll fully fancy a go at Nathan Aspinall, Cammy, or Leonard Gates as well.
Yeah.
I think we've got an interesting one where we've got Scott Williams and Nicole Springer to play Rob Cross, because we know that Williams and Cross are stable mates. That they spend a lot of time together, they practice together a lot. I think interesting for them to meet very early in the tournament, especially given how far they both went in the previous edition of this tournament. We've got two semi-finalists from last year and one of them ain't going to get past the second round. Those two semi-finalists, because they have to meet each other
as well.
And then you've got like Petretsko against Jan van Veen in that same section as well. Potentially another unbelievable game. I think and then you've got up the top with like Peter Wright, Wesley Blazier's a tough draw. Watermina against Wade as well. We could see two massive names go out very early there as well.
Well, also, Michael Van Gerwen, we touched on him earlier. For someone that's had early exits at the Slam and the Players, to have either Jim Long or James Hurrell, and then either Brendan Dolan, Chris Landman, or Young Ling Lee, to try and play yourself back into form, that is very kind.
Oh, yeah, you love that. Yeah, he's sat there absolutely rubbing his hands together at that. He has then got a small matter of probably Gary Anderson or Ross Smith to come after that, which is not easy.
But by then, he's potentially won 2 games and got confidence back.
A bit of confidence.
Yeah.
That little section where the seeds are De Decker, Heta, Dirk van Duivenbode and Bunting is absolutely horrific, especially when you consider the unseeded players in there. You've got the likes of Luke Woodhouse, Connor Scott, Alan Suter, Madas Razma, Christian Kist, all players capable of turning up and throwing something superb. But that section of Bunting, Dirk, Damon Heta and Mike De Decker is horrific.
Yeah, 100%.
Brutal. That's about as tough as we can see anywhere in the draw.
This is a good one from Big Johnny as well. That if Litter loses early, is that a huge negative for the tournament? No, not for me.
No,
not if it's Fallon that beats him.
Oh, could you imagine?
I think that it's really difficult, isn't it? Because you are going to see some absolute shit in mainstream shit rag media. Whether Luke loses in the final or he goes out in the first round, like there'll be some utter nonsense spouted.
Oh well, even if it is Fallon that beats him, you know that the story is going to be Luke Littler beaten by girlfriend of darts player.
Well, the other thing as well, that I don't think we see Luke until the second weekend. We know we're going to get Humphries on opening Sunday as defending champion. Then they're not going to put him on before Sports Personality Year on Tuesday. So I think we see Luke Saturday or Sunday the following. I don't think we're going to get him early.
No, I don't think so either. I think you're right there. They're going to hold that one back.
Yeah. Yeah, when the schedule's, I think we see Luke's second weekend. Look, I can't wait. And we'll go into depth on the PDC Worlds over the next coming weeks, but it was just our initial reaction to that draw. Also, Rob asks, changes to the seniors darts, thoughts? Look, I've seen a lot online around it since it was announced yesterday. Jason Francis, the co-owner of the seniors, has been answering a lot of questions. And look, he's been brutally honest. People might not like that, but when the tour is losing X amount of pounds every time they put a tour event on, is it feasible to carry on in business? No. Forget this. If you're losing money every time you do something, that is not a sustainable business model. So the seniors have made the choice to change the model. Look, there's still going to be qualifying events. Yes, there's not a tour, but if you're a senior, you can still qualify for the TV events through the ADC. It helps strengthen the ADC. There's another link up. So I don't dislike it. I can understand why some of the seniors and the tour players have got the hump, but there is still an opportunity for them to get to TV events.
Well, this is the thing, is like it's the problem with it. One of the problems for me is that there is some bollocks, I'll go for it. Like, there is some entitlement I have seen this week right across social media where people seem to expect these events to be put on and clearly run at a loss and funded by somebody that will continue to fund these events. Like, if you cannot keep pushing money into something that isn't making any, sooner or later you run out. Like, eventually you run out of money.
Unless it's like Saudi Arabia backing it.
But it's not, is it? Like, and
no, exactly. Like,
there is a level of commerciality that we have seen. Now, again, this seniors system, this format and this model, it's not experimental. Like, we've seen this used and put to good use in the senior snooker, and that is working. You know, there are events that are they have to be commercially viable because they continue, and because you can't, nobody can continue to run things at a loss. They have to be making money. We see them on Channel 5. We see them on, free-to-air television, so many people can have the opportunity to watch them. There is the opportunity for anybody there to go and play it. You can argue all you like about the age. You can argue all you want about the age. But, like, we'll have the same argument about the youth and when the development tour should end and how old you need to be on that. It is what it is. And what you have to accept is these things will either run in a way that they are commercially viable. And if that means 45 is the limit or 50 is the limit, but one is more commercially viable than the other, or that they run in a certain way where they don't have the two or they qualify through the ADC or whatever, they'll either run like that or they won't exist because people can't run them as a charity. So like the complaints from people, I think, well, what is your preference that people just say, oh, it won't exist at all then? And I don't understand that.
Like, at the end of the day, it is a business. It's not a charity sort of let's all have a look at these guys that used to be the guys that we've all grown up watching. Like, it's a business at the end of the day, and in a business you've got to make decisions. I mean, the age thing, like 45 is pretty old in darts, to be fair, like, especially now. Like, Littler will have been playing for 29 years if he hits 45. Like, you telling me that's not a senior at that point? Someone's had a 29-year career.
It's again, I don't think. Like, I understand that the people who are offended by it are players over the age of 50 that feel that their chances of being successful on television and winning bigger money has been reduced by the addition of players under 45.
Yeah,
but I don't know what because so you just want to wait a couple of years till they're over 50 anyway, and then you're going to be in the same boat. It just is. It is what it is. It will either exist in a way that is commercially viable and it can even break even, or it won't exist. And it genuinely seems like some people's preference is that it doesn't exist if it's not within the format that allows them, to access it in a certain way, or because they just have strong feelings either way on what age group and category it is. Like, really, I mean, it doesn't really exist, does it? Like, it's not a rule where it's over this age, it's under that age. Like,
no, we're not using like your state bus pass age, are we? Like, it's not.
It's like saying that winning a major gets you into the Premier League, doesn't it? It does for some people. And it's
on what is a major at this point as well.
We've got 20 odd arenas that we have to sell out. Like, and if we don't sell it out, we can't run the fucking Premier League anymore. And we certainly can't pay you £250,000 for winning it because no bugger will pay to come and watch, and it won't be on the telly. Like, and there is some. I understand, right? That there are. I've been lucky enough to spend quite a bit of time in seniors events, and the atmosphere is fantastic, and the following that it has is brilliant. And I know that the tour events, the floor events have been run very, very well, and people have thoroughly enjoyed participating in them. But that doesn't mean someone else should fund it for you to enjoy.
Yeah.
I enjoy all-inclusive holidays. It doesn't mean someone else should fund them for me. I'd like it if they would. And if I could have them do it for a few years, then brilliant. But you wouldn't find me 3 years down the line saying, this is fucking outrageous, you're not paying for my holidays anymore.
Yeah, you're not paying for my holidays anymore, and you've let in some younger blokes who are drinking all of my beer.
You want to send more attractive people, you said, to bring the crowds in? I haven't got it anymore. What do you mean? Yeah, it is. It is what it is. But again, like what people forget is that all these people who are enjoying it, and I enjoy it. It's brilliant. The seniors tour has been fantastic. I think. Has it been perfect? No. Name me something that is. Find me something. Find me any sports organisation, structure, anywhere where the people who know the most about it haven't got a criticism of it. Because it doesn't exist, does it? In the world. Boxing fans will tell you 100 things wrong with boxing. Ice hockey fans will tell you 100 things wrong with ice hockey. Football fans will tell you 100 things wrong with the way Newcastle are fucking playing tonight.
To be fair, VAR is probably up on that list because how you didn't get a penalty about 5 minutes.
Yes, people who are intimately, in tune with how the seniors work will be able to find a million things that they think is wrong with it or could be improved. But you have to remember that there are people, whether you like them or not, or whether you like the fact of it or not, there are people that take risks, and they risk their own money, they risk their children's inheritance on this thing. And if it doesn't work and it all falls on its ass, like the result to some people is that event they like to go to doesn't run this year. The result to somebody else is I'm fucking bankrupt, I've lost my house. Like, the risk lies in one section, and those have to be the people that make the big decisions. They have to get what they need from it because they're the ones taking the risk. They're not just the ones who are having a nice time. And again, I hope that the way I'm saying this is sympathetic with the fact that I think it's been brilliant. I totally feel for anyone that's really enjoyed it, and it's not, they're not going to be able to access it in the same way. But I just encourage you to move with it, try and continue to access what is there, and enjoy playing darts. But understand that, like, it is what it is at the end of the day. Nobody owes you anything.
No, exactly.
PDC have been very good at press announcements recently and hyping announcements. And then Barry decides to go on TalkSport last week. I'm sure that the PDC would have had a nice way of announcing their plans for the World Championship in 2026. And Barry was, hold my coat, I've got this. So next year, thanks to Bazza going live on TalkSport, we are going to 128 for the Worlds. It's happening from next year. The expansion is here. First of all, thanks, Bazza. But no, thoughts on the way Bazza just does it his way and the expansion.
I think that's the main point, isn't it? It's his way and he does it how he wants to do it. In terms of adding more people to it, I'm not sure we need it. I'm not sure. Like, how are we gonna?
I think it depends where they come from. I think if you're looking at darts and developing it and getting and growing the sport, which is what I think everybody wants to happen and continue to grow and raise the profile. I think if you say that, right, well, we're going to have more people come through the qualifier, and you end up with, like, being brutal, people who've been complete shite all year, who fluked a card 11 months ago, and then put 4 games together and get through to the Worlds. Like, I don't think that's adding anything. I think if we use it to develop the affiliate tours that are growing and playing very well, and that those additional places are we find ways to bring players in through the Asian tour, through the CDC, through the oceanic regions, whether we're developing people in India or Africa or South America. If we're doing that with the additional places in the World Championship, then I'm all for it. I think it's a good idea. I think the more exposure that players on the affiliate tours get or for playing in events like that, the better. And I think it's better for those tours and therefore better for the development of the game. If we are just making more tour card holders get there, I'm not all for it. I think there's enough opportunity as a tour card holder to earn your way to the World Championships. And if you haven't done it, then yes, we'll have the qualifier, we'll have a handful come through. but yeah, I want to see more from affiliate tours, dev tour, women's tour. Like, allow me people to earn that. The tour card holders have enough chance.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I think the time is my biggest concern with that. How are you going to fit in all the extra games?
4 days.
Starting at the first weekend of like December at this rate.
It's an extra 4 days.
Yeah, but so if you want your Sunday start, when are you fitting them 4 days in? Where are you going with them?
We're starting earlier.
Yeah. You end up starting a week before on the Sunday before if you want to have your Sunday start like they've got at the moment, and then spreading it out and having more gaps in between, which I don't think really adds any value to it either.
Like I say, because Baz has kind of went in 2 feet first, we don't know the makeup of the extra 32 players. But look, there will be some extra places for tour card holders out of those 32.
There'll have to be. I don't think there's.
Yeah, out of the 32, I reckon there'll be 8 more for tour card holders.
I think you get 16.
I think 8, and then the 24 will be spread across everything else.
I fancy they'll go 16 and 16, but
yeah, 8 and 24 is comfortable.
Oh yeah, that's the better way around, 100%. But I don't think that's what they'll do.
16 and 16, I think, is a bit wild, and you'll end up with. Again, I just think players they've got enough opportunities to earn their way there.
Yeah, look, it's interesting, but obviously, 8 extra sessions works out about 25,000 more tickets. It's a
lot of money.
It's a considerable amount.
An extra few quid, isn't it?
But yeah, look, I'm interested to see how this works, and I'm guessing it will be part of a new TV deal, whoever the darts ends up on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I hope it's someone.
I actually think it's a big year for the sport in general, because look, the next TV deal, wherever that ends up, is a big moment for the sport. 1, financially, and 2, for eyes on the sport and where it ends up being broadcast.
Yeah.
Because let's say Sky don't give Barry the magic number that he wants, and darts ends up on DAZN or Amazon or Disney Plus or whatever. How does that dynamic change?
Because you ain't getting the same viewing figures on DAZN that you get on Sky. Just doesn't happen.
No, I agree, but I think we know DAZN have got the money that, or
they have got very deep pockets.
Looking for. They
might not have as many viewers, but they have a lot. They have very deep pockets.
Cannot bear the idea, and this is me just being old-fashioned, of the darts being on a channel that I can't just press a button and have on my TV.
Yeah, I'm the same
idea
too.
Of having to download an app on my telly and then pay what is probably the.
DAZN have got a TV channel, haven't they?
No, they got rid of it. They had it for a while.
Did they get rid of it?
Yeah, it's gone now. It's all just back on the app now.
Oh, so they did have at one point, didn't they? I thought they.
Yeah, they had one, but yeah, it's gone again.
I honestly can't bear the idea, and then having to pay yet another separate subscription on top of the 5 probably different monthly subscriptions that and that's just for the app-related things that I'd rather just a fucking channel, please. Just a channel with the darts on will be magnificent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean like we have now? This is what we all like.
So Rob, at the moment, both TV deals. So the ITV deal runs out this time next year. At the end of the current deal, the Players' Championship finals next year is the end of their deal. The Sky deal is the Grand Slam. So both deals currently end at the same sort of time. So effectively, this is the last World Championship under the current Sky deal.
Yeah. Which means we're going to know relatively soon, because it's not going to be a last-minute thing before the Worlds next year.
my understanding is that darts is Sky's second most watched sport
behind Premier League football.
Behind Premier League football.
Yeah.
Are they anywhere near in a position to allow their second biggest asset to leave?
You'd like to
Depends
think
whether it's making them more money than they're spending on it, I suppose.
But when they've lost over £200 million last year, there is a black hole, because we know they have paid significant money for new Premier League, F1, cricket, so on and so on. That if they've overspent, have they got the money to do it?
Yeah.
Stop dicking about with things that weren't TV channels, like tellies and sound boxes and stuff. They might be on. Stop fannying on with different things and just, continue to be a TV service. You might stand half a chance. They've lost the wrestling as well, and they let the wrestling. And I know that it's controversial. A lot of people don't value it, but it is a valuable asset. That WWE, in terms of viewing figures and recordings and all the other stuff, it was a big number churner because of the advertising that goes with it for Sky. Now they allowed that to go out the door. That went straight to TNT, which is that's all that, and that is losing to a direct rival when that's Sky. It's one
in January that goes to Netflix.
Yeah, that's gone again, hasn't it? But I don't think we're going to see darts on Netflix anytime soon. I think the only way I could make it, I could tolerate it, would be if it maybe went to something like a Prime, like an Amazon Prime would be tolerable. I still think I'd find it very frustrating for it just not.
Yeah.
Anthony wants ESPN Plus.
Yeah, Eurosport. Let's have Eurosport. Come in for that.
Eurosport
to get rid of everything else. Just sell the whole business and just do darts.
Should we open up question time, boys? While we think, have we missed anything in a week in darts? While we open up question time.
What else?
I think of anything
this week? I really don't know.
No. Any checkouts for you this week, Dan?
Mate, I got absolutely pummeled last night.
I got spanked this week as well.
We were playing the team who are referred to in the league as Man City. The first time, the first leg that I played, I got to the lad. He threw a 140, followed it with a 180, and I just thought, oh bollocks! Like I'm like, I got beat by foot. The first leg was I got done with a 14 dart leg. And I thought, like, I'm a man. On my best day, I can't.
This is not my game.
on my best day, I can't make this competitive. But I tell you what, I played in a really. I don't mind giving a shout. I played in where did I play? What's it called? The Sheraton in Stockton, and it's a vault venue. And they've got an absolutely superb setup. The boards were all great, hockeys, everything the way they had it all set up. In terms of set up for vault events, it was a spot on venue, really fun, good to play.
No, Harry, I did. If I'm being honest, I couldn't even tell you who won Modus this weekend because I was in Minehead with not a lot of internet, so genuinely no idea who won, buddy. Yes, I was at the media day today, Connor. Plenty of content coming your way. Matador says, I think it's Scarred the Zone. Wouldn't. Are we getting a Discord? Maybe. I know fuck all about Discord, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, we talked about this, didn't we? Like, we use it as our work chat rather than using Teams or anything at work, like on our laptops, just for any. But I don't know how it works other than just messaging between people in our work.
The difficulty, if I'm brutally honest, right? The difficulty in us having a Discord is it's a bit of a free for all. And the idea, and it's a lovely idea that everyone gets to pitch in and we get to chat with all the subscribers and things like that. But also, if it doesn't have one of us to police it all around the clock, and they're in because we're all very busy, then there is potential for it to degenerate into something that can be more negative than positive. It's something
none of us know enough about it to be able to.
We're looking into it and trying to learn enough about it and how to do it properly, so that if and when we push the button on it, it would be in a way that was, where we think it's okay. And yeah, I'm sure that we would be able to get moderators. There's none of us particularly trusting people. Who would we happily hand the keys over to moderate? There's some of the team that we have to question. Never mind throwing it out to the general public. So we are looking at it, and we're looking at trying to find a way that we can do it. If we do it, we want to do it in the right way.
The gentleman Jim Long won Modus. Not a surprise. Jim's a quality operator. Rob, I believe the Unicorn launch is early December. I believe. Lee, I've got no idea, mate. I didn't realise John Henderson was out of Champions Week. So again, I've been out of the loop because of PDC stuff. So that, look, I'm guessing there'll be a valid reason. Connor, I'm not going to give you that just yet because we're going to dissect it all over the next couple of shows.
Well, we've got a lot of talking about that to do, Connor. Loads.
Yeah.
You can't go too early.
To be fair, this one, it is quite funny that Della is a little bit salty on Twitter, isn't he?
A little bit. Being generous again.
A little bit of salt.
Yeah.
It goes in 2-footed.
Less salt in the sea, I think.
Yeah, he likes to go in 2-footed.
Without thinking.
Yeah, I don't think there's a process between the thought and the typing.
It's literally, it's like the brain catches up after it's been sent, I think.
A lot of us go through that process. Is it relevant? Is it offensive? Is anyone interested in this? We go, and at the end of that decision-making progress, we decide what to do. It seems it's very much like thought type, and it all happens at once.
Yeah.
Does
he wear the shirt though? Does he wear the 138?
I don't believe that he doesn't.
I've got one of them upstairs,
You use it for polishing the guitar, so.
I didn't buy it.
Some
would say I lost.
This is a good question from James. How many of Ronnie Huybrechts, Robbie Knops, Christian Perez, Jacques Labre do you think attends Q School?
2.
I think only one of those. Let's see if we all agree on the number and if the same.
I think 2.
I think Labre and Knops.
Knops I'm going for. I'm going 1.
Yeah, no, I think Labre goes as well. That was my other one.
Yeah.
I don't think we see Huybrechts and Perez. He's obviously had his complications.
Yeah, I think Perez will go back to play on the Asian tour where he can play more.
Yeah. Just gets more down. That's it.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I think Perez does that. What will Dom Taylor's punishment be?
1 year earlier with Keith Della.
A year to 18 months.
Yeah.
We reckon.
Yeah, around the 18 months, I reckon. I think both of those will go to Q School. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think either of them are done with it yet.
There's a lot on offer, though, isn't there?
There
I think if somebody from the World Seniors Darts rebrand, I was going through the rebrand there in my head. If somebody from World Seniors Darts sits one or both of them down and is able to almost say, this is what next year looks like, and then they can also take on board the amount of other darts that is available. Super Series isn't, as I understand the geography down that part of the world, Phil, it's not too far away from where Mr. Whitlock is based. I think he's in that part of the world.
15 minutes.
And especially if there's, I don't know, but there's maybe opportunities for him to do more than just play. Like he might be able to do other things. I think, I just think there's a lot of opportunities outside of it. But if he goes for it, good on
him. With a streaming service, I can't remember. Isn't there a lot of replays on PDC TV? Is there an archive on there or not? Or am I just making that up?
I don't actually know.
If there is, I've never used it. I'm not saying there isn't, but it generally something's on the Sky Plus or something like that. Or we're watching Pro Tours as they happen, and it's rare. We're going to go and rewatch a Pro Tour.
How many players who lost their card this year will be able to play in the senior? I don't know how many, but I don't think
not as many. I think.
But also, remember, you need to go to Q School to be eligible for the Challenge Tour. So any of these players, even if they want to go and play in everything, they're still going to have to go at least one day to be eligible to play in the Challenge Tour.
Yeah, which a lot of them will want to do because they are good. It's good competition. They're potential good earners. You would probably be silly to not allow yourself that opportunity for the sake of your trip to Q School. And don't forget as well that those who have lost a tour card bypass stage 1 of Q School as well.
Correct.
So you have got less of a less of a chaotic minefield to wade through in going straight into that second phase.
This is an interesting one. Is Andy Barton's the most most disappointing? Look,
I mean, there's not that many of them to go through, to be honest.
Well, there's only 2. So, is the question: is Andy Barton's more disappointing than Neil Duff? Well, I think that's a really strange question.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I assume he's including BDO ones in there.
Yeah,
I get that, but then I think we all the lineage of that title is it, because if you want to say that, and if that's the lineage you grant it, then you'd probably say, well, why has Andy Barton's year as the world champion been more disappointing than Wayne Warren's? Like, why Wayne Warren did not have a productive year as the world champion. And if you grant the lineage of that title to this one, then I would say that has probably been a more disappointing world title reign. If you subscribe to that,
Yeah, it's like Wayne Warren's the one I feel for that everything happened. I'm not saying he was disappointing as a champion, but the way COVID hit, they didn't get paid. Then by the time COVID had then happened, the BDO folded and whatever. So,
as I say, if you want to pick back over, the list of BDO champions and go through who's the most disappointing, you could argue Ted Hankey turned out to have a fairly disappointing.
Depends what you're judging disappointing on, I suppose.
This is just taking a sinister turn all of a sudden.
The can of worms has been opened.
Wasn't it easier just to say that it's not the same fucking title? It's just him and Neil Duff. That's it. It doesn't need to. I tried to just say it's a different thing, but no, you've had to drag me down the Ted Hankey.
You went there all on your own.
No, I was gonna say we didn't ask you who was in charge.
The devil, it seems.
Absolutely superb.
Every time someone mentions Hankey on here, they've put £5 in a pot. We will all be bankrupt very quickly.
Remember, everyone.
A great night out, though.
If you are in the Ilkeston Midlands area, the Live Lounge live Monday the 9th from the Prince of Wales in Ilkeston. We will start teasing who the guests are going to be this week. Looking forward to that one. We have plenty coming up interview-wise on the channel. It is going to be rammed. And, of course, at the World Championships, the Fallouts will return, boys.
You will. I assume that'll be the usual lineup of me, Dan, Gob, Carwin. You know it's the Worlds when the Fallout returns on a nightly basis, don't we? It's
It's when I'll tell you what, it's the nervous conversations with Mrs. X where, you know, like when it's a 1 week and I'm like, oh, you know what, love, it's just 1 week in it. It's like a bit of a one-off, you know, it's the Grand Slam. So there'll be a few I'll be doing that for a few nights. Once we get to the Worlds, I say, oh, just so you know, love, for the next month,
I was about to say, how are you spinning this one to Mrs. S?
I am unavailable as a husband and parent.
Yeah, basically, for me, I don't even have to try and spin it anymore. I just come home and she goes, doing the Fallout tonight, are you? See you tomorrow.
It's a work in progress. I'm working.
Again, the Dartmouth is coming. Gob is rewriting this year's poem as we speak.
Putting together a new one. He's not just reusing the old one.
No, he's tweaked it a little bit. Mrs. S has had a look over it as a teacher, so it's going to be grammatically perfected as well.
The Fallout means something. I was like, you're not fucking wrong.
So yeah, no, there will be a live lounge next week. Don't worry about that. We have you covered. There is plenty of darting things to talk about. We're going to be, to be fair, Cam doesn't know this yet, nor does the rest of the team, but we are going to be asking them for their predictions as well, like we do every year. So the team video,
I knew it was coming.
Yeah, the team video will return as well. So plenty going on. But everyone, thank you very, very much for supporting us on this Monday. It's been 2 hours of absolute joy. And of course, this will be available as an audio only. If you're at the gym, driving to work or whatever, you can have a good old listen along to us. But everyone, I've been Phil Bars, Dan Simpson, Cam McFarlane. Thank you very much. We have been on 9 Darts, and we'll see you all very, very soon.